Welcome to Freedom Through Fitness, the podcast where we explore how strength, movement, and resilience can transform lives. I'm your host, Megan Batchelor, founder of Focused Personal Training, and each week I sit down with real people, local voices, and expert guests to uncover the true power of fitness, not as a way to chase perfection, but to reclaim confidence, health, and freedom. Based in Southampton, UK, and sharing stories that inspire everywhere. Let's get into it. In this episode, we sit down with Leon Edwards, a man whose story is a powerful testament to grit, transformation, and purpose. At 72 years old, Leon decided to prepare for an 800-kilometre pilgrimage walk across northern Spain, not as a lifelong athlete, but as someone who has faced serious health challenges, including a quadruple heart bypass, borderline diabetes, mobility issues, and years of post-traumatic stress following a long career in the ambulance service. What started as a mission to get fit for the Camino de Santiago became something far bigger. Over 7 months of working with the team at Focused Personal Training, Leon dropped over 15 kilos, built incredible strength, and perhaps most importantly, rekindled a sense of confidence, joy, and freedom in his own body. And I'm absolutely delighted to share that since recording this episode, Leon has gone on to complete his 800-kilometre walk, an incredible achievement and living proof that fitness can really be the path to freedom. A dream that had been calling to him for over 45 years became a reality because he put himself first and did the work to make it happen. The conversation is about reclaiming possibility. No matter what your age, background, or starting point, it's about what happens when we find our why and commit to doing something extraordinary. So let's hear his story.
Would not worry me if I had to start an 800-kilometre walk tomorrow.
Okay, so Leon, welcome so much to the Freedom Through Fitness podcast.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have a conversation with you today because I really feel that your story is going to be inspirational to a lot of people, and I'm really grateful that you've shared your time with us today.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to go right back to the beginning, and the first thing I'd like to ask you is, where does your story begin? Where did you grow up, and where have you, what's your adult life involved?
I grew up in mid-Devon, a place called Crediton. I went to school in Crediton. I left school not being able to read or write.
Wow.
I taught myself to read when I was 17 or 18. I joined Devon Ambulance Service when I was 21. And I spent 20 years as an ambulance man, paramedic. I then become very ill through post-traumatic stress and had to leave Crediton. And then I moved up here to Warsash and studied for a maritime degree. I moved then to Germany, lived in Germany for a while, and then came back and started work in Exeter with Flybe, the regional airline that we used to have. And it was whilst I was at Flybe that I had a 4-way bypass. I thought angina, but it turned out to be worse than that, so I had to have a 4-way bypass. I then left Flybe in 2011 and moved to Eastleigh. And from there, I've been here in Southampton since 2011, basically. Why did I come here to Focus PT? Two things. One was I'd become very overweight. I was 107 kilos. I'd been diagnosed as being borderline type 2 diabetic. I knew I had to lose weight because I was also getting problems with my knee. It was, I had to have x-rays on it, and they said I had moderate osteoarthritis in my left knee. Mobility problems, trying to get up off the floor, being very stiff when you get out of bed and start walking across the room, having problems going downstairs with your leg giving out and that sort of thing. So I knew something had to be done. And then September 24, I decide that I'm going to walk an 800-kilometre pilgrimage walk from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, over the Pyrenees, across northern Spain to Santiago de Compostela. I have now got a reason to want to lose weight and get fit, and that's what brought me here to Focused PT.
That's really interesting that was your inspiration to really start the fitness, where you've kind of discussed there are a few medical scares even before that.
Yes.
that weren't quite enough to get you over the edge into doing something, but having that pilgrimage booked in, that has really helped that to help you to take action, essentially. Why do you think it was that, perhaps the heart issues and the pre-diabetes wasn't necessarily the thing that tipped you over, but which we would call pain points, whereas I'd say that the pilgrimage is like a gain point, so it's a push versus a pull. So do you feel like the pull was stronger than the push?
I wouldn't call the pilgrimage walk a pull point.
Okay.
Because it's something I wanted to do about 45 years ago, but I couldn't afford to do it. We have mortgages, we have bills to pay. Companies only give you 2 weeks, 3 weeks holiday, and this is going to take me 6-7 weeks to do that. And also there is a spiritual aspect of wanting to walk a pilgrimage walk. I've never been the sort of person who have been aerobically fit. I can't run for toffees. I've never been interested in football, rugby, tennis, all that sort of thing. I've never been interested in. Coming into the gyms, I've been to gyms before, but I find I get rather irritated by these guys who sort of pumping iron and a big bulging biceps, and I'm not like that.
So you didn't feel like you identified with that kind of environment?
I did not identify that. I've been there, and no, that's not for me. And also you're there on your own trying to do something. The difference with coming to Focus PT, and I didn't like coming here to begin with. To begin with, I didn't like coming here. The difference is that everybody is so friendly. They were talking to me as a person, and they would, all of them, Jack and Lucy, Jeff and Jodie, dear Jodie. I mean, they've all worked hard to get me to where I am now, and I feel so happy to be coming here, so pleased. Yes, there is a different aspect of it. It's been the pilgrimage walk that's been a driving force. But now I've come here, I've got into the habit of coming here, and I look forward to coming here because one, everybody's so friendly, and two, they push me, but they do it in such a way that I enjoy doing it. It's a challenge for me, like today, to try and lift another 10 kilos on what I did the last time. Since coming here, I've lost now over 15 kilos in weight. I do practice walks. I'll walk here and I'll walk home again. That's 10 kilometers, and I come 3 times a week. As well as that, I'm increasing the mileage that I'm walking. So to the end of January, I've walked 1,057 kilometers, and so far this month I've walked 160 kilometers. So now I'm in 1,200 kilometers thereabouts.
As you're listening, you might be feeling that spark, feeling inspired to explore how fitness could become part of your own life and help you to live with more energy, confidence and choice. If that's you, I'd love to invite you to visit freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk, where you can book a free discovery call with the Focused PT team of experts and find out what working together could look like. No pressure, just a real conversation. Because you deserve to feel strong. You deserve to move through life feeling proud and not punished. And it's never too late to put yourself first. And now, back to the conversation.
Today, I did deadlifts with 65 kilos. Mm-hmm. I pulled a sled with over 100 kilos on it. And I can do squats with 50 kilos. And I've never ever been able to do that sort of thing before. I now, when I walk home, I feel as though I'm walking on the air. I feel as though my speed is I'm walking faster and lighter. And if anybody was to say, right, well, Leon, we brought your walk forward, it wouldn't worry me if I had to start an 800 kilometre walk tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's how I feel. I feel good.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to pull back to something that we talked about earlier, just to get a little bit more detail on it. So you mentioned that you thought you had angina,
yes,
but it turned out to be much worse.
Yes.
So what was it that happened back then that meant that you went, into hospital and then went through that full bypass?
I walked the Jurassic Coast from Poole in Dorset to Exmouth. Mm-hmm. It's roughly about 100 kilometres. This was late May, early June, and having walked that walk, I was carrying a rucksack. I was wild camping on the beaches. And when I got to Exmouth, if anybody paid enough money, I'd be quite happy to walk all the way back again. I felt absolutely amazing. 10 days after my 50th birthday, that was the 7th of June, I went back to Lyme Regis to see the people who put me up for free. They had the second-hand bookshop at the bottom of the hill. And I went back and I took them back some flowers and a bottle of wine to say thank you. And it was then going up that hill afterwards, back up to the car park at the top. I had to stop maybe 4 or 5 times. I felt no pain in the chest, but I felt deeply uncomfortable and not very well. So I rested and I let it pass off, and then I'd walk a bit more. The same thing would happen. And I thought to myself, because of my previous medical experience, Leon, old chap, you've got angina. So I went home. I didn't do anything about it that night. But I then walked up to my car the next morning to go to work. The same thing happened again. So I took myself into the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, took myself into casualty and said, I'm an ex-paramedic, I think I'm having angina. They put me on a 12-lead ECG, nothing showed up at all. But the heart gives off an enzyme, I think, called troponin T, and that was raised. And the doctor I saw said, we're going to keep you in, do some more tests. 10 days after that, I'm having an angiogram. The surgeon stops halfway through it and says, I'm sorry, Leon, there's nothing we can do for you. You're going to need a 4-way bypass. 10 days after that, I'm down in Plymouth having a 4-way bypass. The next bit I don't know anything about for at least a year when I go to see the surgeon in Plymouth to be signed off. But he says, we had a slight problem. We cut one of your grafts a bit too long, and when we put you into intensive care, it kinked, popped, and you had a massive drop in blood pressure. We had to open you up a second time. Your heart had stopped beating, and we pumped it by hand for 15 minutes
Wow.
until we got everything under control. I didn't know anything about that for at least a year. I thought then I would like to get fit. I'd like to be able to swim and cycle. I've always been active, but not aerobically active. I also found out that every male in my mother's side of the family had the same problem after the age of 50. And some of them had not been as lucky as what I am. And that is the reason why I've had the heart op.
Yeah. Was that the point at which you started doing fitness, or are we talking further down the line?
Well, like I said, I've never been aerobically fit. I wanted to get fitter, and I started going to the gym and things like that. To begin with, I think I was invited to go to the gym for free. But this is when we come into the general, what I call the sweaty aspect of going to gyms. You know, you get these big beefcakes, and they're sort of looking in the mirror to see if one bicep is bigger than the other. And that's not me. I don't belong in a place like that. I don't get that here. What I have seen here is some extremely fit people that's been inspirational.
If you're listening and thinking that's all well and good for them, but I feel miles away from that version of fitness, you're not alone. We know what it's like to feel stuck, not to know where to begin, or to wonder if it's even possible for someone like you. The Focused PT team is here to meet you exactly where you are. No judgment, no pressure. Just a real conversation about where you're at, where you want to go, and how we can help you to finally break through what's held you back. Because putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's how you build a stronger future for yourself and for those you care about. You are worthy of more energy, more confidence, and more freedom. And your first step is just a few clicks away at freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk. Now, let's get back to today's guest.
And it's not just some of the people that's coming in. I'm thinking of coming in a bit early one day, and Lucy is working through her training regime, and bloody hell, that's frightening. To see her doing that, to see her pulling the sled with about 150 kilos on it, that's two of me, and she's pulling this time and time and time again. But today I pulled, I think it was 125, 115, 125, and I'm 72. That's not bad, is it?
Not at all. What I often hear from people is that they feel they're either too old to start something, or that they think, or in particular, some of the heavier lifting, I'm too old for that.
No.
What would you say to people who feel that way, having gone through the experience that you go through?
One of the reasons, as I said, I like coming here is because I feel that I'm being guided through the process. I can always say, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't feel up to doing that, and there's no pressure on me to do so. On the other hand, I can say, right, well, let's go on a little bit further, and that's what's happened all the way through, because there was no way that I could do squats. I had the box to begin with, and doing it with no weights at all, and that was a bit of a struggle. I was afraid, I was so stiff in my knees, I was afraid that I would go down and never get back up again. But we did it, and then I asked, can we have something lower than the box? So one of them, I can't remember who it was now, brings out a bench, and that was about 2 inches lower, and I could feel the tension in the legs. And then they say, right, oh, try doing it with this then. So they give me this weight, and I'm doing, they call it goblet squats. So I start doing that, and then the weight starts increasing. And then I get to the stage where I'm thinking, well, I'm doing this now. I've got 20 kilos, and it's more difficult of me holding it than what it was to lift it. So over the weeks have worked up to that weight gently, but at a time. At any time I could turn around and say, no, I'm not doing that. And then I explain that it's holding that weight. That's the problem. I feel as though I could do more. So then it might have been Lucy comes out with the bar with the yoke on it and says, try it with that. And then the weight goes up again. And now I can do squats with 50 kilos. It doesn't matter. I don't need to go much more than that, because when I do my walk, all I'll be carrying is a rucksack with 7 or 8 kilos in it. No more. 10% my body weight. But I can increase the reps. So I can say to Jack today, right, well, if you don't mind, I would like to do this and I would like to do that. And then he says, okay, so we can add this in as well, because it's important for me to build the muscles up in my legs, and my knees, the core strength, and it's absolutely amazing. They accommodate me. I don't feel embarrassed. And today, Jack sounded so happy that I managed to pull this sled. Was it 20 meters? And he's laughing. I've made him happy. I've done this today, It's brilliant. It's lovely. Jodie, she's lovely. I had to say to her, no, I'm not going to do that. It's putting too much pressure on my knees. So then she says, well, try it with this. We were doing these, is it one-legged squats or something? I don't know what they're called. And I just catch hold of this bar now. And I'm not actually holding on to it. I'm just resting on it because it stops me from wobbling. And that means I can do what she's asking me. I can't go all the way down because my knee hurts, but I'm getting there. My knees are feeling a lot stronger.
Do the version that's right for you.
Yes, absolutely.
We spoke earlier about some of the reservations that you had before we came in. How do you feel that the reality of your experience over the last few months has been versus your expectations? I didn't expect to enjoy it. It's a challenge, and it's not just you people. It's not just the personal trainers. It's the other people that come in as well. Everybody's so friendly, and we have lots of giggles. Perhaps a little bit too much sometimes. I would say if you're a bit nervous about coming, the 6-week introduction is the most important. I absolutely hated coming the first few weeks. I felt so out of place, like a fish out of water. It was horrible. But then I find that I've moved on a little bit, whereas I couldn't do it when I first came through the door. I've got used to the people. I'm not so embarrassed about coming in and having a go. And I'm not interested in being better than anybody else. I've got no interest in that at all. I'm just trying to improve my perspective, the challenges with me. The walk has given me focus, and I think now that this is the right place because you're called Focused PT, and I need to be focused in order to walk 800 kilometers. In fact, it would probably be closer to 1,000 kilometers, especially if I do the walk from Santiago de Compostela onto Cape Finisterre. I think that's a really good point though. One of the things that really hold people back, one of the barriers we would call it, to exercise is almost the noise that comes from all the different things that you could do. So it's almost like decision fatigue, and by having focus on something really specific like you've had with your walk. Yes. And the guidance that you've had perhaps from having coaches and stuff, that's helped you to almost shut out the noise a little bit and go, this is what I want to do, and I can see that this is a tool to get This I think is a bit more than that. This is me being selfish. This is me saying I've got to do this walk. It's been like an earworm. It's that tune that you pick up in your ears and it just won't go away, and it's so annoying. I mean, the number of times I've heard about the Camino Frances and the Camino de Santiago de Compostela. There's been films made out of it. There's hundreds of YouTube videos, and I can't watch them. I don't watch them. But every now and again this nagging aspect comes back. So it's something I feel I've got to do, not so much that I want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a subtle difference. And I have now got Team Leon, okay? Team Leon
consists of the personal trainers we got here,
Yeah.
Jeff and Lucy and Jodie and Jack. I've got a podiatrist who's sorting my gait out for when I'm walking to stop my knee from twisting. I'm going to an osteopath, and she's been helping me to free my frame up because I got so stiff. You guys here have been giving me lots of exercise to help with that. They all mesh in together. It all works. And then I've got my lovely Lynn. She's got what I call a velvet boot because sometimes Leon needs to kick up a bum. There is also another inspiration that she come up with, which I think is very funny, but I shouldn't say it, not really. She says, Leon, if you get tits bigger than me, I'm off. And if that's not an inspiration to lose weight, get fit, even if you're not thinking about doing 100 kilometres, 800 kilometres, you know, that is inspiration enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that should be inspiration enough for everybody.
Absolutely. What a great way to finish things off.
You're welcome.
So I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
The podcast is called Freedom Through Fitness. What does that phrase mean to you?
Freedom through fitness. I would say freedom to enjoy life and sort of, yeah, freedom to enjoy life, full stop.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Leon.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Grateful.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Freedom Through Fitness. I hope you're leaving this conversation feeling inspired, encouraged, and maybe just a little more connected with the version of yourself that you're working toward. One that moves with confidence, lives with more energy, and chooses strength on your own terms. If you're ready to take that next step, don't forget, the Focused PT team is here to support you. You can book a free discovery call right now at freedompod.focusedpt.co.uk. No pressure. Just a real conversation about what your freedom through fitness could look like. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, tag us at Focused PT UK, or leave a quick review. It helps us reach more people and keep these powerful conversations going. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Meg Batchelor, and I'll see you next time.